next presentation concerns the developments in Chengdu in the Sichuan province in southwest China. And we have with us Patrick Baker. Patrick's been in the horse industry since he was 13. He has also extensive international experience. He's worked in such countries as the UK, Ireland, Japan, Australia, and the UAE, where he's currently based as the project manager of the Meidan China project. Now, we're going to do this slightly differently. We'll show some of the slides of the work that he's been engaged in Chengdu. But I want to put this question to you, Patrick. 11 months in the planning, what was the state of the facilities you found when you first arrived, and what did you need to develop for the exhibition race?
Yeah, when I first arrived, everything was pretty much in place. The stable block, the grandstand, and the tracks. But the thing we needed to do was to upgrade, predominantly for horse safety. The tracks needed a little bit of work doing to them. And the same with the stabling block as well. Very cluttered and needed to be presented properly. As you see from the infield here, we had quite big floods last June, ended up washing the tracks away, but it was actually worked out into our advantage because we could see where we needed to improve these sort of areas. And you can see drain covers appearing on the track, which is not so clever. And then once we got the machinery to work on the track, as soon as we started vertigrading and what have you, this is what we started to dig up. I mean, it was, this is only a fraction of what we actually dug up from the track. But all necessary for, just to make sure that for the horse's safety, which is paramount. I mean,
And what did you need to produce in terms of hardware? A turf track, dirt
we
track?
Had to, yeah. The training track. I needed to provide a good sound training track, so we basically dug up the old surface, which was running. It had very, very coarse sand. We dug down, leveled it, threw limestone down to stop the bigger stones coming up through, and then laid screened sand.
What about approvals? Because we've heard already about the regulatory matrix in CRC. Regulatory approvals, the approvals to carry out these works.
Yeah.
Was that a...
Oh, it was negotiated with it was the local governments in Wenjiang that we were dealing with, and to get things like a lawnmower or a vertidrain, you had to get approval from higher levels, and then it gets knocked down before they could actually go out and actually obtain the equipment for us to use.
And was it all hinged to the exhibition race in terms of the approvals?
Yeah, I mean, and we knew as well. They had their own racing festival in November, so we were helping them out with that as well. I mean, the track was vastly improved come the time that they needed to use it, and by the time we got around to use it, I mean, we had to put the track to sleep during the winter, and then pick it up again in time for our own event, which was carried out last month.
Then we come to the horses. You employed the bubble concept.
Yes.
So everything was brought in and everything was taken out?
Yes. Basically, we just picked everything up from Dubai, brought it over to Chengdu. I mean, the only things we actually sourced were the horse bedding and bottled water that we used for the horses. But apart from that, we just moved ship.
Let's go through the labour force.
So labour force. So we brought in grooms, we brought in work riders, trainers and jockeys, obviously. We had track staff that had, through my 11 months, come in and assisted me at various points on the bigger projects that we had to do with peat mossing and the harder core vertidrain that we had to do, and sorting out the irrigation systems that we needed to be done. And then of course race day operations. We had the stewards, race callers, the paddock stewards, and girls from sponsorship, hospitality,
stable hands.
Stable hands. Yep. Okay. Everyone, and we used the local track hands as well to assist us with tampering in between races and what have you. But
that was the limit of the local labour involvement?
Of that day, yeah.
Of that day.
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay. And tell us about the event. How many races on the card?
We had
prize
5
money?
races going from 1,200 metres, 1,400 metres, 1,600, and the big race itself was 2,200 metres.
And what sort of atmosphere did you create? What attendance?
I think we must have got to about 4,000. It was, it started quite. I remember looking at the stands, but actually it picked up to a very good, for what it was. It's not a massive grandstand, but it worked out. We had 2 hospitality tents either side of the main VIP area in the grandstand that we managed to fill as well, and I think it was well received.
An annual event?
We're looking to. I mean, this is what the whole thing is. I mean, you'd be interested to see what the top administrators in Maidan say, but I mean, they want to foster racing in China, and with the hope, of more to come in the future. And
you mentioned the festival in November.
Yeah.
What other uses the facility put to?
They had when I first arrived. Actually, they had a racing club from Beijing were actually there, housed there, and they were using it as their base for the most part of the summer, up until they had to leave when we had to turn it into a quarantine centre. So, I mean, it's all that's set up now as a quarantine, but it can go back to be used as a regular training base again until it needs to be used as quarantine again.
And what's your understanding? Will it do so? Will it be
As far as I know, yeah, it will go back to being a bit of a training centre again, and until it's required to be used otherwise.
Very good. Thanks, Patrick. We'll have more to ask you when we come to the panel discussion, probably.
Thank
but
you.
That's given us a good sense of what you achieved there. Thank you very much.